Every summer, all around the NFL, there are surprises when it comes to who eventually makes the 53-man roster. The biggest of those surprises seem to always take the form of undrafted free agents who make their way onto NFL teams. The Dallas Cowboys might have a surprise on the way at one of their marquee positions with UDFA rookie wide receiver Trevon Holden. Almost every year, there's a lesser-known Cowboys wide receiver at camp who becomes a fan favorite, The Athletic's John Machota wrote on August 4th. Holden is that player this year. And frankly, he has stood out more than any other in that category in recent memory. Almost every practice, he has a noteworthy moment where he stands out. The Cowboys have CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Jalen Tolbert, Cavani Turpin, and Jonathan Mingo. Those are probably the 5 who will be active on game days. But Holden is putting himself in position to be number 6 if Dallas chooses to carry that many. He's near the top of the list of players to watch in the preseason. If Holden does make the roster, it won't cost the Cowboys much because he's on a 3-year, $2.96 million contract, which only included $6,000 in guaranteed money. Holden using draft snub as motivation. Holden not hearing his name called over 7 rounds of the 2025 NFL Draft could be the motivating factor to him making the Cowboys roster. "I was hurt," Holden told Dallas Cowboys.com's Tommy Arish. "That 24-hour rule, I was hurting. But now, I'm here, and I'm ready to make it happen. I'll do what I can to show everybody that I belong. I want to prove everybody wrong. Everybody. I'm coming for heads. That's it." Holden spent the first 3 seasons of his college career playing at Alabama, where he won a college football playoff national championship, a freshman in 2020, and played in the CFP National Championship game in 2022, where the Crimson Tide lost to Georgia. He transferred to Oregon for his final 2 seasons, where he had a career-high 462 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns in just 8 games in 2024. "The more I watch Trevon Holden at Trisky11, the more confused I get about his draft projection. This guy should be a day 2 pick at the latest. Great size, routes, body control, RAC ability, with reliable hands. Would be a steal in later rounds. Big-time results without many touches." At both Alabama and Oregon, the story on Holden's 6'2" and 205 pounds was he always made the most out of the few opportunities that came his way. Touchdown maker who averaged a TD grab for every 7.1 catches, NFL draft analyst Lance Zierlein wrote about Holden in his pre-draft evaluation. "The tape doesn't stand out, but his physicality and willingness as a run blocker is a differentiator that could help his cause. When we factor in Holden's 40-yard dash time of 4.57 seconds, more than fast enough for NFL draft boards, it's a messy off-field issue that likely kept him from being picked." Holden was dismissed from Oregon's team by head coach Dan Lanning in February 2023, 1 month after he arrived in Eugene, after being arrested on allegations of felony unlawful use of a weapon, coercion, and misdemeanor menacing. Lanning put Holden back on the team 2 weeks later, when the charges were dropped after video evidence cleared Holden of any wrongdoing. Micah Parsons has requested a trade from the Dallas Cowboys, a situation that's currently unfolding in Dallas. It remains uncertain what the team plans to do, or if they'll grant his wish, but that doesn't seem likely. The better chance is for Parsons to get a long-term deal, and hopefully, if that happens, he'll be happy to put on a Cowboys jersey again. But if it doesn't, the Cowboys will have some tough decisions to make now and in the future. Regardless of who they want in a trade or the number of picks, they'll have to focus on what players they could draft next year to replace him. NFL Mock's John Blair of Fansided recently proposed the idea of drafting TJ Parker out of Clemson, adding that he's the top-rated defensive player on his board. "Clemson's TJ Parker enters the 2026 NFL Draft as my top-rated defensive end. His production last season was elite. 19.5 tackles for loss, 11 sacks, and a school record 6 forced fumbles. He was the only player in the country to rank in the top 10 nationally in all 3 categories. At 6'3", 265 pounds, Parker brings the full package with an explosive first step, the ability to bend off the edge, and power through contact. He is a top 10 talent and would be an ideal long-term replacement if Dallas lands a premium pick in a Parsons trade," he wrote. Parsons' deteriorating relationship with the Cowboys. Parsons made his intentions known with the Dallas Cowboys last week, requesting a trade on Twitter/X. His comments were very telling, stating that he unfortunately doesn't want to be part of the organization anymore. "Unfortunately, I no longer want to be here," Parsons wrote. "Up to today, the team has not had a single conversation with my agent about a contract. I stayed quiet, but again, after repeated shots at myself and all the narratives, I have made a tough decision. I longer want to play for the Dallas Cowboys." In typical Jerry Jones fashion, he didn't sound like he was exactly worried about his star leaving. In fact, he somewhat doubled down on his bad takes, saying that he's heard it all over the past 30 years. "I've heard that so many times in my 30 years in the NFL, from not just players but agents," Jones said, per Yahoo. "That is old stuff. 30 years of old stuff. Some of these issues we're hearing about, trading, hurtbacks, all that kind of stuff." Replacement options. Whatever happens with Parsons, the Dallas Cowboys will have to consider it, but Parker is an intriguing candidate for them to select. CBS Sports recently named him the third best edge in the 2026 NFL draft class, and rightfully so. He's coming off a season for Clemson where he posted 57 total tackles, 34 solo tackles, 1 pass deflection, 11.0 sacks, and 6 forced fumbles. TJ Parker is the cleanest prospect on this list already. He's got an ideal frame for the position that's already filled out like an NFL veteran. He's the kind of every-down edge defender who can provide plus play against both run and pass. The sophomore already displays strong hands and the wherewithal to use them to his advantage consistently, Mike Renner wrote. "It's been an off-season of drama for the Dallas Cowboys, so they could cut cornerback Trevon Diggs before the 2025 regular season starts." According to a report, owner Jerry Jones was not happy with the cornerback since Diggs lost out on $500,000 in contract money due to his rehabbing away from the team's facility. Jones was hoping that Diggs would be 100% with the team, but Diggs spending time off the roster cost him. This could lead to a possible release, as Diggs is on thin ice, as it is already after suffering a season-ending injury last year. Originally selected in the second round of the 2020 NFL Draft, the former Alabama product had one of the best sophomore campaigns in the league after recording an All-Pro and Pro Bowl nod in 2021. Diggs hasn't been the same since the 2022 campaign due to suffering from the pitfalls of an injury, so he's on the brink of possibly playing his last season with the Cowboys. It doesn't help that Dallas hasn't been able to figure out the contract situation with Micah Parsons, so that only means the team should release Diggs if they don't see a future in him. If he becomes available, here are 4 teams that could pursue him. Cowboys could cut former All-Pro Trevon Diggs. Will anyone sign him? Potential next teams: Washington Commanders. The Washington Commanders are famously known for getting former Cowboys athletes, so why not? They could use another cornerback in their secondary depth chart who can help both Marshawn Lattimore and Jonathan Jones. Head coach Dan Quinn was able to bring out the best in Diggs when he was the defensive coordinator, so him joining the Commanders might be what the cornerback needs to reset. New Orleans Saints. Meanwhile, the New Orleans Saints are entering the 2025 regular season with one of the worst cornerback units in the league. Between Kool-Aid McKinstry and Alani Taylor, it will become difficult to find a way to embrace life after Paulson Adebo and Lattimore, even though they've been injury-prone last year. Diggs isn't going to light up the field anymore in the NFL, but he could be a reliable rotational starter if he can stay healthy and help the Saints at least turn the ball over to give the depleting offense a fighting chance. Carolina Panthers. However, the Carolina Panthers could arguably turn a lot of heads this season since they invested in their defense after notably signing Trayvon Moehrig and Tershawn Wharton. Despite re-signing Michael Jackson and J.C. Horn as their starting corners, the Panthers still lack depth in that room. Diggs might win the starting job in Carolina if the chemistry is right for both. Los Angeles Chargers. The Los Angeles Chargers had one of the best pass secondaries last season, but they lost Christian Fulton, who had a standout 2024 campaign. Despite that, the team was able to make up for it by signing 2 promising free agents, Benjamin St. Just and Dante Jackson. Since this will be 2024 draft pick Cam Hart's first opportunity to start, they could use someone like Diggs to mentor the young group.